Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Today's video, I'm going to cover a little bit of the news, and then this is going to be my goal list for 2024. And I'll explain what I would like to have happen as a prepper, and just directions that I think we should be going for this year. I know a lot of the goals that I have are kind of standard goals when it comes to prepping, or becoming more resilient to the things that can happen out there. But the first thing that I'm going to discuss is the United States has just recently reclassified the Houthi in Yemen as a terrorist group. They are continuing to strike at military vessels, convoys, cargo ships, and things like that. And I think up to this point, the United States has conducted 5 airstrikes on anti-ship missile positions. Their leader has come out and said that this is just going to strengthen us to help with recruiting. And Biden has said that even though we have conducted these airstrikes, we're not seeing much progress in that idea. At the time of making this video, I believe there are still 2 Navy SEALs missing who were supposed to intercept a boat or ship, I don't know the exact size, with materials to make more of these explosives. So we're getting involved in a part of the country that's really far away. Again, less than 2 years, less than a year after we had pulled out of that area. So we got that going for us. The UK has gotten themselves involved. So, we are spending money, time, and resources on an issue that kind of pertains to us, but it definitely seems like we have not pulled away from the idea of trying to be the world police. On top of that, it's the start of the new year, so I think European countries, and trying to in the US, but there's a bit more opposition. They are announcing more aid packages, money, military equipment to go towards the what I consider a proxy war in Ukraine and Russia. It was like 76 or 96 of France's artillery pieces, their most modern, up-to-date piece of artillery. They were going to send all of them to Ukraine. And they also said in the year 2024, that's the exact number that they planned on producing themselves. I couldn't find in the video if they were just going to send the 96 of this artillery that they already have, or as they produce it, they're going to send the brand new ones to Ukraine. I couldn't figure out what they were planning on doing, but idea one is you're going to take away equipment from your military, meaning they can't train on that kind of stuff, and they have to wait for new ones to come in. Or if you are producing the exact number that you plan on providing to Ukraine, that means you're not having any backup ones. You're not, I don't know if France is planning on increasing artillery battalions or what, but I do know military equipment breaks. It gets worn out, it hits its retirement age. So probably not a good idea to say, you know, if I'm going to make $100 this week, I'm going to donate all 100 of those dollars, you know, towards a charitable organization. That's my mindset of thinking. You know, you have to be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of others, and it just, that highlights to me that this is definitely a proxy war. At the same time, the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of the Army, you know, whatever their title is in Germany, released a report saying that, you know, they believe Russia will be capable of, you know, attacking NATO in the next 5 years. So, you know, if you've turned it into a drinking game, you know, I'm going to say the word World War III, and, you know, go ahead and, you know, take your drink. For me, I'll stick with Diet Coke because I'm driving. So, that's going on. China's apparently sending 6 warships to the Red Sea area. China did a big flyover with a couple of fighter wings of their aircraft over Taiwan on the same day that they elected their old vice president. He's now their president, who has very clearly said, you know, we're not part of China. You know, we're our own thing. At the same time, Biden has reaffirmed the one China policy. So, world tensions, you know, if I'm thinking about it from a Hearts of Iron standpoint, you know, world tensions are definitely not at 0. You know, I don't think there's enough stuff going on for it to be at 100%, but I do think we're floating in that, you know, 20 to 25% range. And it's mostly, you know, these small regional conflicts that are going on. I wouldn't say that a major is heavily involved. You know, we do have Russia doing their stuff, but to me, I definitely think that is a isolated incident that a lot of the Western world, they're doing just enough to keep the world tensions down, because, you know, on some level I can understand, you know, providing aid and helping out, but, you know, something just sits wrong with me with the idea of I'm going to loan a country money to purchase some of my equipment that some of it we don't expect back. You know, we do understand it's going to get damaged, and we'll just think about you know, repaying those loans, you know, much later. And we just want to continue to do this. You know, I don't really like Russia very much, but one thing that old Vladdy said that did stick with me, and I think it was a, you know, correct statement, was, and it was directed at the U.S., is Ukraine can very easily turn into another Vietnam for y'all. You know, we haven't dedicated boots on the ground and, you know, gotten involved like we did there in Vietnam, but we are pouring a ton of resources into this. I saw a clip of one of, you know, Rand Paul's speeches on the Senate floor talking about how he didn't want to provide another, you know, penny towards Ukraine when we've got all of the issues that we have going on at home. You know, I think getting into American politics is definitely not what I want to do with the channel, and I don't want to, you know, deal with or discuss the problems that we're dealing with at home. You know, when it's time for me to vote, I'll go do my voting, and, you know, I'll keep the conversations civil with friends and family. I think a lot of prepping can be apolitical, and it's just a good idea for everyone to be involved in it. So we've got all of that going on in the world. The United States is also in an election year. In 2020, it was election year and COVID. We saw probably more riots and political unrest than a lot of people have seen in a long time. And there were 22.8 million gun sales. That's the one number I got for you. I don't remember what the number split was on people that had already owned. Like, people did surveys on, is this a first time firearm buy? Did you own one, or did you own more than one? I didn't care to do that, any of those surveys, because what I have in safes and closets and what I lost in boating accidents is my own business. But there was a significant uptick in the amount of people that were purchasing firearms for the first time. There is typically a uptick in firearm purchases if they believe a Democrat is going to win the presidency, or if it's very unknown who's going to win. And our last several elections have been very, very tight. Come down to the wire, or you just don't know who's going to win. And so typically election years, you're going to see a massive uptick in firearm purchases. What I've also seen a lot more of is people aren't just buying firearms. They're also buying the other equipment. I'll link down below the video of me covering the IFAC that I purchased and put together, because thankfully one of the good things that the gun community and the preparedness community and all these other people have done a really good job on is you shouldn't just have the ability to put holes in things. You should also have the ability to fill in those holes. So, and then kind of throw it in the ability to stop holes from forming. I'm seeing a lot more people not just focus on the firearm itself, but they're also focusing on the protection side. There's probably 24, very capable, very great plate carriers, and then there's probably another 100 that fall into that mid category. And even if you're spending $50 and getting a Condor plate carrier that is, I would say pretty close to the bottom of the barrel, it is still a lot more capable than having nothing, I would say. There's a lot more going into, the first aid side of things. I definitely know when I was first starting college and watching these kind of videos and making these kind of videos, there was a lot less about first aid and trauma care, and more just about LARPing as a Green Beret, and just buying the tactical stuff. So what I would say as a goal for 2024 for everyone is putting together an IFAC. And if you already have that put together, making a second one. And then you should also look at spending more time creating a trauma kit. Your individual IFAC can keep you in the fight, can stabilize you until more advanced hands can help you out. But there's definitely steps up that you can do that the equipment and the training, a lot of it can be done at home. one of the things on my list to purchase is one of those, like silicone, suture, cut. I don't really know what they're called, but they've got different styles of wounds on there that you can practice stitching people up. And yes, I imagine there are classes out there, if you have the funds and the time, that those people can probably teach you a lot better. All of the sewing that I've ever done, a little bit of it was, grandma helping me out, but a lot of it is watching a video on YouTube and just practicing the stitch. It's a little bit different on a person, but that's something that you can watch a video and figure out how to do. A class that I took this summer, because I'm a lifeguard, I'm a aquatics director for the VSA, so I've got my CPR, first aid, AED for the professional rescuer, but the next step up class is a first aid, a wilderness first aid class. So your standard first aid class is going to be about 4 hours, and it's bare bones basics. I remember taking it years ago, and it cost like $25 to do either just CPR or just first aid, like $35 to do both of them, and it took up one Saturday. The wilderness first aid is designed for you to be able to render aid if emergency services are more than 45 minutes away. So depending on the course you take, it's 16 hours, but you can cut it down to 12 if you've already done a first aid course and you can show evidence of that. But most places, they typically just do the double up. You spend a weekend, 8 hours a day, because even though you take a first aid class, a few things change when you're out in the middle of the woods versus, in a school or at work or something like that. So, it is, and your instructors can kind of, bend the rules a little bit. Typically, for the worst, my instructor was a friend of mine, and everyone in the class were all staff that work at the scout camp with me. And so when it comes time to make a stretcher, instead of just doing we're going to carry this person 100 yards, we're going to carry them up the entire trail from the nature science area all the way up to the A building. By the way, this trail is 3/4 of a mile long, and we'll switch out every 1/4 of a mile, so everyone has a chance to lay on it, but everyone also has a chance to carry this person up and down stairs. It's not paved or anything. If it rains, it's going to be a little bit different. This spot's muddy because it's a low spot and water collects, and it's a very humbling experience to carry a 220-pound person for 1/4 of a mile with a homemade stretcher, or doing a fireman carry for a person even 200 or 300 yards. All of the stuff in that class, I did it to have the piece of paper that says I have it for certification reasons, but everything that is in that class you can also learn from a video. Continuing talking about scouting, the way that they teach people stuff is the EDGE method: educate, demonstrate, guide, and enable. So I can explain all of these, different first aid things that I learned in the course, and I can go down its syllabus and show everything you need to know to be proficient in this. I can then take the time and demonstrate this, medical procedure, or, tying this bandage, or, how to diagnose this problem or that problem. But the limitations with the video is you can't guide the person through that process. Like if they're, packing a cut on someone's leg, and you observe someone doing it, slightly incorrectly, you can't really guide the person in that. And, it's a little bit limiting, but the enable part of that, there's not much you can do until it actually happens. And depending on the budget, there's some really great courses where they do a great job on the enabling. Like for CPR, the dummies are designed to feel like a real human. And so the amount of pressure and everything that you're putting into, doing the compressions, you can do a good job of enabling on that. But, there's only so much of the skill set that you can, educate someone on and demonstrate it before, you need to go out and practice these skills on your own. And a good bit of these skills you can do by yourself. And, it works the same way when I'm working on my car. I'm watching a video of someone explaining how to replace X part. And I'm looking at every screw, nut, bolt, plastic clip, everything that they're taking off, and I'm following them. I'm in that guide stage, and if I have to, do it again, I'll probably end up watching the video again, but, I can enable myself to physically do that individual thing. What you can't do by yourself is, a fireman carry, or, fire and maneuver within a fire team, or even a squad, or, if you had enough people doing it, even within a platoon. So that's why another goal for 2024 is increasing the outreach for the MAG. Talking with other like-minded people, setting time aside to do training, discussing what people's different liabilities and assets are, and being able to train by yourself is one thing, but doing the training with groups, it's just like going to the gym. If you go to the gym by yourself, you're gonna put in a workout, maybe you still had some left in the tank to push out another rep, or add another 5 pounds on something, or run an extra lap on the treadmill. And having those additional people, they're also kind of, they're your motivator. They're what keep you honest with it as well. Misery loves company. So if you're going on a 12-mile hike with your bug out bag, if it's just you, maybe you hit mile 8 because the spot that you're doing it on is a 4-mile loop, and it's just you, and your brain convinces yourself 8 miles is fine, and we'll just load up and get back in the car. Or, maybe you're walking the entire thing when you should probably put, a little bit of a jog in it, or, increase the heart rate a bit more. And when you do that by yourself, your brain does a very good job of, convincing yourself you've given it your all. We're in pain and we don't want to be in pain, and having other people involved, goes back to the idea of misery loves company. I've got to get through this 12 miles, because if I don't, I'm letting my, partner down, but they're also there to say, man, this hill really sucks, you know, let's get this shit done, kind of thing. So increasing the mag in 2024 is, I think, a super important thing. Community building is, you know, what has gotten society through a lot of issues, and I think a lot of us don't really know our neighbors very well. You know, we spend a lot more time inside than we do outside, and so I think that goes into that whole idea. You know, maybe this person doesn't want to, you know, go out to the range and do, you know, shooting drills and stuff with you, but you figure out that this person grows, you know, these type of vegetables. You know, I definitely know my neighbors know that I have fruit trees. I've talked with a couple of people. I know one of them has chickens, and we've had this, you know, discussion on, you know, when they start producing fruit, I'd really like to trade some of this fruit for chicken eggs. And they're like, that sounds like a great idea. We are slightly past that acquainted stage, and we know that if I have an abundance of this item and they're going to have an abundance of that item, I kind of don't have to worry about also stockpiling that item or figuring out how to produce it, because I have someone else that, you know, is going to mutually assist me. So that's the way I think about that. I know at the start of every year, it feels like millions and millions of people discuss fitness goals. They don't like how much weight they have around their stomach, or, you know, they miss the times where they could run a 7-minute mile back in high school, or you know, they were a star wide receiver, and, you know, they've sat on the couch and they've gotten complacent and they've put on weight. And I've seen, you know, all the different memes about the people that consistently go to the gym throughout the year, and, you know, it always seems like there's 3 times as many people in there for the first, you know, 3 or 4 weeks of the school or the new year, and, you know, then a lot of them taper off and fall off. So, you know, to help keep me a bit honest, I'll do a couple of workout videos, you know, where I video some of the workout that I'm doing, or explain, you know, some of the stuff. I'm also doing a much better job of keeping track of my weight. And so it's not just, you know, being physically fit and looking, I said that backwards. It's not just, you know, how you look, but, you know, you do need functional fitness. You can have a, you know, 6-pack and look, you know, shredded in your physique, and a lot of that can come with, you know, the way that you diet, and, you know, you're not putting on weight because you're not eating too much, but you're not, you know, very fit and capable of doing stuff. You know, I don't have a 6-pack that's visible, but I can throw on a 50-pound ruck and go for, you know, a 12-mile ruck. I imagine there are some people out there that look the part, but, you know, aren't capable of doing that. So something to keep in mind is, you know, having a level of physical fitness. I would say a lot of goals, if you're under the age of 30, should be an 8-minute or less mile. You know, being able to do 30 to 40 push-ups in one go. You know, not getting tired walking up a couple of flights of stairs. You know, I'm not really in a position to set a, you know, a standard for a lot of people, but I know my standard is, you know, ever so slowly increasing, because the last time we checked, our 7-month-old son weighs 20 pounds. So I know, on top of all of the other gear and everything else that I need to be able to carry, he's not walking yet, and you know, he's going in a you know, a chest carrier, and that's an extra 20 pounds right there. So I'm doing a lot more for my legs. I'm doing more running than I did last year, and I'm doing a lot more, you know, functional strength training. You know, not so much, you know, how much can I bench and, you know, how much can I squat. It's more, you know, putting on the ruck and doing lunges, or you know, doing pull-ups with the plate carrier on, and just there's kind of a system that I have going for it. But you know, I still will watch videos on, you know, exercise videos that people do for workouts and stuff to plan that out, because I'm not going to say I'm an expert with that by any means. So I would also like to do a lot more gear reviews. My most recent video talking about a Nalgene Camelback conversion, I was super stoked about that, mostly because I didn't know it existed, and I was, you know, very pleasantly surprised in the couple of weeks that I used it. You know, I think it has a lot of, you know, great functions. You know, I'm still small enough. I'm not sponsored by anyone. It's on Amazon. It's like source something. It's the first thing that pops up. But I think it's a half decent product that I definitely plan on using. So if it's something that you would like, you know, go for it. But you can also let me know in the comment section down below, you know, hey, I saw this item and I thought about, you know, wanting to get it and try it out. And, you know, if I've got the means of, you know, borrowing that item or purchasing it, then I will. If I don't, you know, I'll just let you know in the comments, you know, it's not going to happen. Or there are some things that someone can say, hey, I've thought about this item, and, you know, if I have it, you know, I can give an honest review. If I've debated it, and then through other reviews or other people in my mag that have purchased, you know, similar things, you know, I can also let you know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But with that being said, we're getting close to home, and I am ready for this drive to be over. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you enjoy what we're doing with the channel, hit the subscribe button. And lastly, you got a friend or family member that benefit from these videos, share the channel with them. With that, catch you in the next one.